As the country burns down, we're being told from all sides, from the mainstream media, from conservative media and conservative pundits, that Donald Trump's support is waning. The silent majority is not such a majority anymore. That Joe Biden is leading nationwide and in state polls in key swing states that were pivotal to Donald Trump's 2016 election, like Wisconsin and Ohio. Well, what is the truth in all of this, and what does Donald Trump need to do to bolster his opportunity to get a second term? That and more on this edition of The WireTap. Hello everyone, my name is JD, and I'm flying solo today. Logan is feeling a little under the weather, but Donald Trump has had a tumultuous couple of weeks, really about a month, ever since this whole George Floyd situation started up. And we have seen numerous reports from conservative pundits and well, I wouldn't really call them conservative. I would call them the faux conservative, the Fox News type of conservative that are saying that Trump's approval is waning. He's losing middle America, and he is going to lose in November. If the election were today, Donald Trump would lose, which that might be true. I don't know. It might be true that he might lose in November. None of us really know. I think he is still going to win, and I've said that many times, even despite everything going on right now. I think he's still going to win. But there has been a growing number of polls that the mainstream media, of course, is going to gleefully run away with. They're going to gleefully put these all over the top of the news hour. They're going to have these stories. Lester Holt's going to be talking about the president's support is waning, and this, spells real trouble for his reelection campaign. Put all of that aside, because 1 year ago, right now, on June 26th, on Friday, 1 year ago, the Washington Post, and I believe it was ABC News, had a poll that came out. Hillary Clinton was leading by 12 points on this date. Well, at this time, rather, 1 year ago. Hillary Clinton leading 12 points, ABC's Washington Post poll. The current polls have a wide range, quite honestly. They can't really gauge as to how far ahead Joe Biden is. The point is that he's pulling ahead. I've seen 8% in the general election, which is less than Hillary Clinton. So if you're going to compare and you're going to look at the results, well, maybe you shouldn't be so worried. But there's been numerous stories about this kind of stuff, specifically here from The Hill. I want to start off with this one, and it says Fox News' Gasparino. GOP operatives raising the possibility Trump could drop out of the race if polls don't rebound. And I've seen this from a couple of sources over the weekend. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know what kind of stupid conspiracy this is, that Donald Trump is going to drop out of the race if his poll numbers don't rebound and come up. This is wishful thinking. This is never Trump nonsense. It really is. He's not going to drop out if his poll numbers are low. And do you know why? Because he doesn't believe in polls. His supporters don't believe in polls. And quite frankly, after 2016, it really shows how you should take what the polls say with a grain of salt. You shouldn't just totally disregard them. But don't make that the end all and be all of your campaign. Because as we've shown, as we saw, they're not the most reliable metric all the time. This is wishful thinking. This is just liberal over this kind of stuff. This isn't going to happen. Trump is not going to drop out because of his polls. 538 has a poll from the Trafalgar Group. Just came out of Wisconsin. The poll was taken last week, and the results were just released yesterday. Trump leads Biden 46 to 45% in Wisconsin, which, I mean, a lead is a lead, and that's a win of a state. That's a key swing state. But, however, Forbes just put up a story. This was last Thursday. GOP poll of Wisconsin puts Trump down 16 points ahead of his Green Bay, Wisconsin visit. 16 points? In what world? Why would you not go, before you release the results of that poll, why would you not go back and look at your methodology and recollect data? Because there is no way any of the candidates are going to be down 16 points at this juncture. Are you kidding me? 16 points, and that is a GOP, it says, poll, and it was put out by the Hodes and Associates. It says that it's a Republican firm, Hodes and Associates, put out this poll. 16 points, Trump trails, is what they say. NPR, Trump disapproval hits all-time high, and he trails Biden by 8. It says Trump's approval rating sits at just 40% overall, while a record 58% disapprove of Donald Trump and his job performance. This is from Newsweek. Trump slumps on his greatest strength as economy approval rating plummets 16 points. Says that his economic approval rating dropped to 47% in June, which was a 16-point decrease from the numbers reported at the beginning of 2020, which indicated 63% of poll participants supported Trump's stance on the economy. This is something that I noted a long time ago, whenever I said that I believed that Donald Trump was going to win. And I believe that I said this in our coronavirus video, or one of our coronavirus videos about Trump being reelected and how it might affect his election odds, because they were talking about this months ago. And it is a fair concern. But I said Donald Trump will be elected, or reelected rather, and I still stand by this, that he will be reelected pending the economy. The economy is strong, he will be reelected, because ultimately what a lot of people vote with is their wallets. How is their bottom dollar affected? And under the Trump presidency, a lot of people have had tax cuts and an increase in their wealth, an increase in the value of their property, their homes, many, many things, economic opportunities. Donald Trump will win if that can come back, and that has come back in some way, and the stock market is a very poor way of looking at the state of the economy. It's not the end-all and be-all. A lot of people just look at the stock market, and depending on whether or not it's up or down, they're like, well, that means that our economy is strong or it's weak. It goes a lot deeper than just the stock market. At one point, it had come back to 27,000 points. Whenever it dropped off, it was only, in the 29,000s. And now I think it's sitting back around 25. So there is a lot of uncertainty. And then you have the Black Lives Matter movement. and you have the racial strife and the racial division in the nation. There's a lot of things working against Donald Trump at this point. And, everything about impeachment, that's long in the past. Do you even remember that Donald Trump got impeached? Honestly, the other day, all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing that was dominating everything, was impeachment. That was 6 months ago. Donald Trump got impeached. And that's totally gone. Totally gone. And now here we are in the midst of coronavirus and all of this. I'm not saying that these polls are just flat out untrue. I think that the numbers are not correct. What I think that they're indicative of is that people, Republicans, conservatives, are not pleased with the lack of leadership coming from Donald Trump at this moment regarding the protests, the vandalism of statues and monuments, the degradation of American society and American authority. That's what a lot of people are upset about. And they look at Trump, and Trump tweets, he says things that are tough, that they want to hear, but they look and they still see this all the time. Even though that you've had the threats of the National Guard coming out, even though that you've had executive orders signed just a couple days ago about vandalizing these monuments and how they'll prosecute those who do so. And it's just been a very half-hearted response. And this is something that you may agree or disagree, but I have been disappointed with the response. I said before, I understand the idea of letting liberals burn their own stuff down. I understand the point of letting America see who the liberals are, but you're losing the culture. That is increasingly becoming evident, and it's increasingly becoming a tactic that doesn't work because more people are siding with those people despite the tactics that they're using. At some point, you have to say, okay, I don't care what this does to my polls. I don't care what it does. These are the principles that we abide by. We abide by the rule of law. We abide by everyone being treated equally and fairly regardless of who you are under the law. These are the principles that we abide by. If you want to see things changed, if you want to see monuments taken down, vote, petition, protest, do whatever, but do it peacefully. It literally says in the First Amendment, this is for you, Chris Cuomo, literally says in the First Amendment, peaceably protest. You do not have the right to vandalize. You do not have the right to loot, burn, shoot, steal, any of that. That is a violation of rights. And at some point, the federal government has to realize what its responsibility is. What is the responsibility of government as a whole? It is protecting the rights of life, liberty, and property. Those are the ends of a government. That is their ultimate goal, is to protect those three rights of their citizens. And right now, that's just not happening. It's sad, but it's true. It's something, I think that these polls, I'm not going to freak out about them. A lot of people are. A lot of people are rubbing their hands and they're very giddy about this. They're so happy about what they're seeing and what they can say about Trump, that he's losing support. This is finally the day that they can say that Donald Trump is losing support. Someone who they have not been able to take down in 5 years. Once he rode down the escalator in 2015. They just haven't been able to do it. These polls, I'm taking them with a grain of salt. I'm not writing them into gospel. I do think that they are indicative, however, of disapproval, of frustration with Donald Trump and the things that he's tweeted, the things that he has said, and the lack of follow-up on that, on those things, on the tough talk that he has had, followed by relatively light, half-hearted action. It's something that has frustrated me as well, and I'm sure there's a lot of you who are probably frustrated with it as well. I mean, we make our case here that we are not here to support, we are not people who, on this program, who blindly support any party or any person. We have an ideology, we have principles, and we will call out those and hold those accountable who fail to abide by those principles. And we're not even talking about hardcore conservative principles here. We're not talking about fiscal responsibility. Nobody cares about fiscal responsibility anymore in the Republican Party. We're talking about the basic function of government. We already know that the liberals don't have any principles. They don't care. They have their own set of principles that they want to transform America into abiding by. And they have nothing to do with upholding the classical liberal values of life, liberty, and property. But we're not even talking about hardcore conservative principles. We're talking about basic things. And the federal response has been disappointing. I'll leave it on this note. Don't be discouraged. Don't be despairing over these poll numbers that you're seeing, because how can you have a poll, as I brought up earlier with the Forbes thing, how can you have a poll that has Donald Trump down by 16 points, period, anyway? How you come up with a poll that has Donald Trump down by 16 points, I don't even want to know. But then you have, just a couple days later, a poll saying Trump is up by 1 point. Admittedly, I do think that the Forbes poll, I believe, only had 600 respondents. So it's not the typical 1,000 to 1,500 respondents that these poll groups get them anyway. The one with Trump being down 16 points, I believe, only had 600 or so respondents in it. So that is probably a large cause for the discrepancy there. But if Donald Trump were listening to this right now, if you want to win back the support of your base, of conservatives, and of middle America, because middle America looks at this and they don't approve of the burning of things, the destruction of property, the threatening of people's lives, the assault, the taking of 6 blocks in Seattle and declaring themselves autonomous, and the United States law does not apply here. People don't support that. If you want to win the support of people, stand up for something. Stand on principle, at the very least, that people do not have the right to do these things. If you do that, your economy is going to come back. Because there's a lot of uncertainty regarding this in particular and coronavirus, that is outside of your control. If you get voted out because of coronavirus, there was no way around that anyway. But if you bring the economy back, if you put this down, stand for something, have some spine, people will respect that. Joe Biden is offering nothing. He is the best case scenario for Trump right now. Because if I'm being dead honest, if you had somebody else up there with more life, if you had a Pete Buttigieg up there, I think Donald Trump might have a possibility of losing. I don't know. The way Trump is conducting his campaign, his administration right now, compared to Joe Biden, he still should be sweeping the floor with Joe. But it's those issues that he needs to address if he wants to bring people back into the fold. But we want to thank you for joining us on this edition of the WireTap. The links to the articles I mentioned are going to be in the description, so make sure to take a look. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we would really appreciate it. We are capital TC and W on Twitter. And we did jump on the bandwagon. I decided, okay, let's give this a shot. And we jumped on Parler. So our Parler handle is the same thing, capital TC and W at the C-Wire on Parler as well. So, go ahead and give us a follow. We're going to be kind of bouncing around back and forth, but I got to say, I do like it. I went on Parler about a year ago. In fact, it says on the account, I created it in July of 2019. So I went on there about a year ago. There was not a whole lot of people on it in terms of any big voices. But right now, you've had a lot of people. You've had people like Dan Bongino, Laura Ingraham, who else am I trying to think of? Matt Walsh. You've had a lot of people go over there to try it out. Before then, it was just a lot of smaller users, and it was just, this it isn't going to get me anywhere. But a lot of people went over there. We decided to jump on the bandwagon, and I do like it. And I do really like the fact that we can link these videos directly into a parlay, I believe it's called. Not a tweet, but a parlay. It's directly embedded so you can watch it right from Parler. It's really cool. I wish Twitter would do it, but whenever you do that, all it has is a dumb little YouTube link. So, but I do really, really like it. Join an account and follow us. We would love to interact with you. But I am JD saying goodbye. God bless, and we will see you in the next episode. It's a lot less entertaining doing this alone.